Welcome to Paradise Love and Veggies. I'm Samantha James. I wanted to start out the show today by talking about poison hemlock. This plant here that's mixed into some grass doesn't really look like much, and it certainly doesn't look like it'd be a bother. But make no mistake, poison hemlock is very poisonous. Washington State has it ranked as a Class B noxious weed. It's extremely invasive and it can get very, very tall. I had to remove some that was up to about 10 feet, and some of the stalks were about this big, which is really crazy. You never want to let it get that big, but as you know, this time of year can be a challenge in the garden, so I let it go too long and I paid the price trying to get it down. If you need to remove poison hemlock, you want to make sure to always wear gloves, protective covering on your arms and legs, and definitely a face mask to cover your nose and mouth so that you're not breathing it in. Welcome to my Hoboculture area. I promised you last week that I would show it to you, and if you remember, Hoboculture area is basically a whole bunch of big logs, and then you put smaller twigs and logs on top, and then end up covering the whole thing with compost and then soil. And it is amazing how hot the heat gets underneath. This was the very first area of my garden to actually start getting flower blooms and strawberries, and I am really, really excited to see how this progresses this summer. So today's show, we're going to go to an auto salvage lot, and I'm sure you will find it as interesting as I did. I am super excited today to be at Shelton Auto Parts. They're an automotive salvage yard. Salvaging reduces the burden on landfills and is a great example of recycle and reuse. Today we're going to be meeting with Omer, who's the owner here, and talk to him a little bit about what happens when a vehicle comes in for salvage and how people end up recycling the parts. Hi Omer, thank you so much for letting me come in today to learn a little bit more about your operation here and what you do with cars that come in. I was really curious and I wanted to explain to viewers when a car comes in, like today I know you towed a couple of cars in that people were not wanting anymore, and so you tow them in, and then what's the first thing that you do when you bring them to the lot here?
Well, we do the paperwork, of course. Paperwork is what the world revolves on, so we have to make sure that we have the proper paperwork for the vehicle, checking the VIN numbers, all that kind of good stuff.
So that would be having a real title that's a legal title that they could sign over to you.
An affidavit of lost title also works.
Okay.
The bill of sale from the Department of Licensing works. There's several ways to get the proper paperwork for us to take the vehicle.
And then what are some of the things when you first have a vehicle? Is there something that you always look for as far as like wanting to take off like tires, or tell me about some of the things that you would immediately want to take off a vehicle that you know that you can sell right away to your customers?
Oh, okay. Well, the first thing we do is we'll try to start it up, check everything out, to determine the condition of the engine, transmission, that kind of stuff, so we know what is actually sellable on the vehicle. When it's destined for the yard, we'll put the yard numbers on it, and the first thing generally we do is cut the catalytic converter out of it. Right now the precious metals in there are quite valuable, and that's a good way to recover some of the money of towing and paying for the vehicles.
Oh, that's smart. And then no one can come and steal it from you.
Yes, because we have had that problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
that tends to be a issue right now in a lot of areas.
And we try to get the tires off because we sell a lot of tires too.
And you sell the tires and the rims and the wheels as well.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then what are some other parts that you like would immediately, do you ever use any of the auto glass, or is that something that generally you do?
Yeah, there's always a market for windows. Windows are easy to break, and so we sell a lot of the glass. Generally, I don't pull much parts off of these cars. I leave each one as kind of its own inventory. So you know what the vehicle is, you know where the parts are coming from. Makes it a lot easier than to have them all warehoused somewhere where maybe something gets broken or misplaced or something like that. That way, if we've got it, it's in the vehicle, you know it's the right thing, it makes it a lot easier.
And so you do take a few things off, but you're kind of an old school where people would come, and if they're looking for a specific part, then they go out. Do they bring their own tools?
Yes.
They do. They bring their own tools, and then they would go out, and then depending on what they've pulled off the vehicle, you charge them appropriately for that.
Correct.
I see. I see. what is the longest time that anyone's ever been here trying to get a part out?
Goodness, I've had people show up in the morning and then I have to go find them. So there's
Oh,
people here
heavens.
8 and 9 hours.
And
pulling
you have a
parts and
really big facility here. How many acres
It's
is
only
it?
13 acres.
13.
So
Well,
it's
that's a lot
definitely
of
not the biggest.
that's a
but
lot of cars though. That's a lot of walking around to try to find someone who may be on their back underneath the vehicle.
Yes, yes. We've had interesting times like that, yeah.
What's the best car that you've ever got in from someone scrapped?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to say. We've got some Jaguars that are pretty cool. I got a Neon that was pretty bent up. We fixed that, and I drive it around all the time now. It's
Oh,
this
neat.
neat little black
Neat.
Dodge Neon. That was kind of cool. Some of the older stuff, I've got a 1960 Ford Ranchero that we're working on. It's getting a V8 and discs all around and all that kind
neat.
of stuff. So,
Neat.
hard to say. Everything shows up here.
So you also do metal recycling. You do scrap
Absolutely.
recycling. So you do aluminum. Talk to me a little bit about the different types of metal and how you separate them.
Oh, okay. Aluminum, brass, copper, any of those kind of things. We get the number 2 tubing, which is the old piping in people's houses.
Like for water?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Nowadays everything's plastic, but,
Okay.
but as they're doing renovations and stuff, we get a
Right.
lot of the copper tubing.
Okay.
The old copper wire, that stuff's very recyclable. Aluminum siding, the aluminum off of campers and stuff, we recycle those too, which a lot of people don't. So, yeah,
And-
we get a lot of that stuff.
I'm curious. So you would also, at some point, when a vehicle has been harvested, I'll say the parts, at some point you say, okay, now we're going to mash this down, right, and turn it to scrap. So at that point, you would drain all the fluids. Talk to me a little bit about that process.
Generally, when the vehicles come in is when we drain the fluids out. Because there
Okay,
could be
after
some
you've started it
leakage.
up to see if,
Yes.
oh, I see.
Yes. Don't want to
So
start
you
without oil in it.
start it up, see how it runs, and then that way you could tell someone, well, when this got here, the transmission worked fine, or the engine's
Yeah.
fired right up. I
Yep.
see. So
A
you're,
lot of the running ones will leave the fluids in the vehicle so that the customer can actually hear it.
I see.
Makes it a lot easier for us too. It's like we heard it run, so we know
Right,
it's good.
right.
But the ones that are obviously bad, we'll drain the fluids out so we don't have the leakage problem out there. It's important to keep as much of the oil off of the ground.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
a freeze too. There's a lot of cats and other animals. People will bring their dogs out here and stuff, and I
Right.
definitely don't want them drinking
Right,
antifreeze. That's
right.
deadly to animals. So yeah.
Right. And so then how much of a car, at what point would you say that's it, we're going to go ahead and scrap this car? Does it depend on the individual vehicle?
Very much
Very
so.
much so.
There's Tauruses that are complete, all the lights still in them, windows and stuff, but I've got a pile of them.
Okay.
So we'll just process the whole thing as is, crush it and put it in there in
I
the
see.
box. I've got big boxes over here that when I'm doing it myself, 2 or 3 or up to 5 cars I can put in a box. If we've got a bunch that we're going to do, we'll stack them all up, get 100, 150 cars, and then I call a crusher. They come in and do all that. That way they pay the road insurance and truck tire repairs and stuff like that, and I don't have to.
Right, right. I was curious, those containers are really huge. So putting 5 cars, that's a lot of weight. What would you say is a guesstimate as far as how much weight one of those containers could hold? And is the truck that's coming, is it like a roll-off garbage container where
is.
they're cranking it up and then it's pulling up onto the bed of the truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a hydraulic winch that pulls it up on there, but yes.
I see.
They take 2 of them at a time.
What?
So yeah, they got a trailer.
It's
and
that long of a trailer?
there's the trailer that they'll put one of the boxes on. The truck has the other box on it, and then they just haul the trailer.
So they would load the truck first and then attach the trailer? Or
I don't know how it actually works because they'll come in here with just the truck. They'll take the 2 boxes out of here to a wide open spot over there at the landfill where they have the room to maneuver around.
Oh, I see.
And then somehow they load the trailer in the truck.
That
and
seems
off
like
they go.
that would be a tricky maneuver for sure.
Yeah, they do it real quick, so they're professionals.
And you've been here for quite a long time. I believe it was 1984?
No, 94.
Oh, 1994.
I started business in '86
Okay.
in town as Omer's Repairs, just the auto repair
Okay.
shop.
And you also do auto repairs, which I guess that's pretty handy when someone has their car in, and everyone of course wants the cheapest price for everything.
Yes.
And so you can go out to your yard and pull apart if you needed to.
Yes.
And that
very handy. We're working on a Trailblazer now that they need a new engine, and we happen to have a Trailblazer with a good engine, and nothing else is really good on it. So
perfect.
That's going to work out good.
And
for
so
them,
then after
we
you
can give them a better price on the engine than anybody else, and we install it. So
and then it sounds like after that, then that Trailblazer would end up being crushed and taken off for metal recycling.
You bet.
So you really, there's a lot of, I mean, you're really like triple recycling around here, which is awesome. When I did research for the show today, it said that this is one of the only industries where it's actually like 100%, almost 100%, besides the fluids, of course, recyclable. And depending on how, savvy someone was and wanted to take the parts off, like really every part potentially of a car could be reused and recycled, which is really awesome. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
Imagine all these cars collecting up in town.
Right.
Or
in someone's yard.
With them. Oh my goodness.
In someone's yard, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I learned a lot. Thank you so much for letting me come out today. And I know it's been interesting for viewers to kind of have a new understanding of when they're calling around trying to find a used part for their automobile, how those parts come to be. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for coming out.
All right. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I'm here with Dewey. I'm Samantha Janes. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Paradise Love and Veggies.
I'm cruising.